next up I'm going to show you how to color it. And you can use crayon or colored pencil. For this one I'm going to use colored pencil. I'm going to draw in your highlights. The reason we're doing the highlights is so that the balloon will look nice and shiny. So before I color the whole thing and forget about these highlights, we're going to draw them in now. So I'm going to draw them at the kind of like the top of my shape sometimes. Like, so I have a top here, over here, over. So if you can see, like, they're just a bunch of little ovals. So I'm going to do one here on the ears, 1, 2, and finally on the top of the head. So I'm going to add a little one here on the tail, and now let's get to coloring. Alright friends, so the next part I'm going to show you is I kind of got my base level of my color, and I would love it if you guys can kind of go back in and make it a little bit more solid, but I'm going to show you the next part in coloring this is to make it more dimensional, have some shading. So if you have a darker version of the color you used, you can go ahead and use that. If you don't, you can use the same one, you just have to push hard. But I'm going to try this darker green because I have my light green here. So with my darker green, I'm going to add the parts that kind of are more shadowy. So if you see, the highlight is on the top. So kind of imagine that there's a light source up in this corner kind of showing through. It's kind of reflecting on the top parts that it shows. So we're going to be coloring the bottoms then. So the highlights on the top, you're going to kind of add like a little like a shadow kind of on the bottom of your oval then, because your highlight's on the top. So you can blend it in, or you can make it like a line. So I'm kind of doing it kind of scribbly just to make it go from dark into fading into it. So I have my green on the bottom, and I'm going to show you a little bit more of that. So once again, you have your highlights on the side closer to the right here. So then I'm going to do the darker shading part opposite, so away from it, and I'm going to do that over here. So I'm going to go opposite of my highlight and draw my line and kind of blend it by doing darker on the outside and then going a little bit lighter as you go in. And I'm going to go here opposite of my highlight. To go opposite of my highlight again, so other side. I'm going to go right here on the outside of my oval and add a little bit more shadow to it. This makes it look more three-dimensional. If you want to bring your first color back in there, you can almost go over top of your shadows to make them a little darker. You can add more layers to make it more solid looking, because balloons are nice and solid in color. So once you can get the chance, now that you have your light and your dark, you can really just like fill it in a little bit more. And if you really wanted to, you could add black colored pencil in some of the spots. So if I were to do that, what you would just need to do, and this is an optional step, you can make it even darker in the shadows by adding a little bit of black colored pencil on there, and the black would kind of layer on top of your darker color and just make it a little bit more dark and shadowy. So you don't have to do this step if you don't want. This is just in case maybe you don't have a darker version of your color, or you want it to really be contrasting, like really be different than the other colors you got going on. So yeah, I'm gonna work on this a little bit more, but there's my balloon dog. Thanks.